In this video, we're going to be checking out a couple of new models and the new supplement from the Scouring of the Shire. Welcome to Zorpazorp Gaming, my name's Lachie and welcome to our review video for the Scouring of the Shire, the gorgeous new supplement from the Middle-earth strategy battle game by Games Workshop. We've got a bunch of stuff to look into today, not just all of the incredible content that's jam-packed into this pretty thin but very filled out gorgeous little supplement, and also some stunning models that have come out alongside the release as well. So lots and lots to look forward to. First up, a huge thank you to Games Workshop for sending this all out to us so that we can kind of dive into it a little bit early and give you guys a nice hint as to what is coming out tomorrow. So a big thanks to them. That's a huge milestone for us here at the channel to have that opportunity, and we're super excited to do it. Now we've got some models, but before we jump into them, we're going to get into the bread and butter of the supplement, which is, of course, the book itself. Now we've had a few leaks come out with, well, they're not really leaks, are they, when they get released by Warhammer Community. We're kind of in a new age for Games Workshop since a couple of years ago. Warhammer Community gave us a bit of a glimpse into the table of contents and a few bits and pieces, so we know that this is very much a narrative-focused scenario, which makes sense. Obviously, it's about the Scouring of the Shire, a heavily narrative element, but there's also a bit in there for the kind of competitive play. We've got some legendary legions and a whole lot of new profiles to look forward to, so lots of exciting stuff. So, without further ado, let's dive in. Now, the first thing that we can notice, apart from all of the gorgeous imagery and the absolutely stunning graphic design that we're now coming to expect from the new Middle-earth range, is that we've got a big chunk of the start of the book devoted to a whole heap of narrative scenarios. We've got a nice little section on the history of the Shire, which is absolutely gorgeous. The Shire is such a beautiful place of the world, and it's got some really cool little events as well, which are going to be explored in this book. So that's exciting stuff. And then we jump into our scenarios. Now, scenario number one is the Skirmish in Bree. This is a pretty cool little scenario, actually, featuring some Bree villagers, which is a custom profile for this scenario, and they've got together with a couple of Hobbit militia to fight off Bilbo and some Ruffians. Kind of the beginnings of the Scouring of the Shire, because as some of us may know or may not, it all sort of started as the Ruffians and their band of kind of disruptors were moving from the east into the west and kind of causing some trouble. And our second scenario really represents that, the Ruffians alive. Here we've got a kind of bridge that's being fought over by some defenders of the Shire. We've got Wholefoot Bracegirdle, a sheriff leader, and Robin Smallburrow, which are two of our new profiles that we haven't seen yet. And they've got 12 hobbits with them who are fighting off Bill Ferny, Lotho Sackville Baggins, the son of Lobelia, who is a bit of a turncoat to those who know the Scouring of the Shire lore, and he's got, what do we got here, 12 ruffians with him. And this is something that we'll start to see a lot. A lot of the conflict sizes is 12 hobbits and 12 ruffians with a couple of heroes either side, and fought on some 2-foot by 2-foot boards. So we're lots of kind of really neat, easy, small stuff that you can smash out quite a few of these scenarios, you know, quite quickly with a bunch of mates, which is a nice point of difference from our bigger scenarios. For scenario number 3, we have something different again, Maggots Farm. Now, we all know and love Farmer Maggot, and in this scenario, it's literally Farmer Maggot and Grip, Fang and Wolf. He's 3 hounds, and they're fighting off a bunch of ruffians, just 6 actually, who are invading their farm, and there's a whole host of interesting special rules to kind of convey that little narrative element. And here we're starting to get on a bigger board. This is a 4-foot by a 2-foot board, so it's really mixed up, really different, which, you know, it makes every scenario feel quite flavored and quite different, even though a lot of the scenario participants are of similar size. Then we get into another 2x2, which is the Old Mill. This is certainly a scenario I'm quite excited about, because I really want to build a big mill centerpiece. It's a gorgeous piece of terrain. Really kind of you can see a bit of a photo here of the Hobbiton landscape there. That could be really stunning. And that's just 12 ruffians, 12 hobbits, and Ted Sandyman, the evil Hobbit Miller, is fighting with the side of the ruffians. We've got, again, some lovely kind of special rules mixed in as well. The Mayor's Arrest is our next scenario, which is, of course, Will Whitfoot being whisked off by the ruffians and taken away to the Lockholes to be arrested. Once again, we've got Will Whitfoot and 12 hobbits versus Sid Briarthorn, a new ruffian profile, and again, a handful of ruffians. We've got 6 normal ones, 2 with whip and 4 with bow. Now, the scenarios continue focusing on all these gorgeous little moments of valor and courage by small bands of hobbits. We've got the arrest of Folko Boffin, we've got Fatty Bulger, kind of gathering up some hobbits and making a raid on the old storehouse where the ruffians have kind of gathered up all of the wealth and surplus of goods of the kind of Shire folk and are hoarding it all for themselves. And then we start to get into some of the centerpiece scenarios of the campaign, starting with the attack on Tuckborough. Now, while a lot of the other Shire folk were being kind of imprisoned and beaten down by the ruffians who were just taking control of the area, the forces of the Took family, led by Paladin, held out valiantly in their holdings. And we've got a great scenario here, again on a 4x4 board, where Paladin leads a bunch of Tookish forces against the ruffian invaders and holds out valiantly against their oncoming hordes, which is a great little scenario. And then we start to get into the really important stuff where we have Merry and Pippin and Frodo and Sam arriving home to find the Shire just an absolute mess, starting with Old Cotton's farm where they start to really stir up the rebellion, and then leading into the Battle of Bywater, the big scenario which essentially ends the Scouring of the Shire. And this is the kind of one of the biggest scenarios that we've got here, but it's still on quite a small board. We've got a 2-foot board by 2 foot, which is jam-packed full of terrain, and some of you guys might remember the old scenario for this board in the old Scouring of the Shire supplement. So we've got a nice lane running down the center, and there's lots of little ambush action going on with Frodo and Sam and Merry and Pippin calling the shots. They've got a whole bunch of hobbits as well as all the new Hobbit hero profiles, well, most of them anyway, and then we've got Sharky and Worm and a bunch of the Ruffian heroes and Ruffian forces all duking it out to decide the fate of the Scouring of the Shire. And that takes our campaign to an end, which brings us to the next element of the book, which is of course our campaign. Now, just like the Gondor at War supplement, the guys in the Middle-earth team have put together a really nice linked campaign so that your results from one scenario affect the next, and kind of tie everything together and give it a nice cohesive journey for you guys as players. So as an example, they have like if one team wins one side, or if one team wins the scenario, they get a certain result. So for the Maggots Farm scenario, if the good team wins, good may use Maggot and his hounds in the Battle of Bywater scenario, but if the evil player wins, the evil player gains 3 additional ruffians. So there's like these kind of triggered on scenario bonuses. For the scenario of the lockholes, if good wins, any Hobbit hero models that escape from the board may be used in the attack on Tuckborough scenario, and if the evil force wins in the attack on Tuckborough scenario, Paladin Took starts the game with no might points. Now, some of these scenarios kind of directly affect the next one, or like we saw with Farmer Maggot, they have like a kind of end game effect triggering for the big centerpiece, which is of course the Battle of Bywater. So it's a really nice way of adding just an extra level of detail and story to the campaign, which is really cool as well. Now, you guys will notice that was only, I think, 15 or 16 scenarios, and there are quoted at being 19 scenarios in this book, which we know from Warhammer Community. So there must be a few more in here, but I'm sure we'll come to those. Up next is our army section. Now, this is a section that a lot of players are really excited for, because the Shire and the Ruffians, they've been a little bit kind of, they didn't have a fully fleshed out sort of roster like they could have, especially the Ruffians. And we've got a whole bunch of new profiles here, which really kind of fully fledge out those forces. Obviously, we've got some gorgeous new Hobbit heroes for leading the valiant defense. We've got Farmer Tolman Cotton, which is of course Rosie Cotton's father, Rosie Cotton herself, who has a new profile, I think. I'm pretty sure that she hasn't been around before. We've got Will Whitfoot, the Mayor of Hobbiton, Folko Boffin, and Holfoot Bracegirdle. Now, something that's always been a bit of a criticism of the Hobbit list is all of the Hobbit heroes, apart from our big 4, have sort of been kind of nothing heroes, sort of 10-point, 15-point heroes, but we've got big heroes here that are like 35 points, 30 points, 20 points, with lots of kind of interesting stat lines or interesting special rules that really set them apart. For instance, we've got Folko Boffin here, who's 20 points, and his special rule is if Folko is within 3 inches of Frodo at the start of the turn, Frodo may spend one of Folko's will points to declare a heroic move instead of spending one of his own might points. And there's a lot of kind of synergies built into this sort of list between all of the cool little heroes to really encourage you to take all of these awesome themey characters that help bring... Because, I mean, the Hobbits, they're Hobbits. They're not the greatest fighters. They're a good shot, and they're pretty stealthy. But they need a little bit of spice and a little bit of magic, and some of these wonderful new characters really bring that to them. And then we've also got some extra ones here. We've got Robin Smallburrow, a Hobbit sheriff. We've got Hamfast Gaffer Gamgee, Samwise's dad. Baldo Tool Petty, who some of you might be aware of and some of you might not. And then we've got Lotho Sackville Baggins, who is a Hobbit force as well, even though he kind of sides against them. And there's some interesting sort of rules to represent him as well. Now, it's not just the Hobbits who've got a big surplus of extra units. Sharky's rogues have been much more fleshed out in this supplement, which is a huge boon for them. They were totally underpowered. Obviously, they've got Sharky and Worm and all of the existing Ruffian profiles, but we've got a whole bunch of new heroes. We've got Sid Briarthorn, a Ruffian chief, Rowan Thistlewood, a Ruffian enforcer, Bill Fernie, and Ted Sandyman all getting profiles. And these guys, they really take the Ruffians to an extra level, having a few kind of actual named heroes with some fantastic special rules, and it just kind of gives you a little bit more flavor rather than just Sharky, Worm, and a whole host of Ruffians. They've got lots of different kind of effects. Once again, they all sort of apply and work well together, and some of them have specialties against fighting against hobbits, which is very themey and great for the scenarios, which doesn't have such a match play impact, but it's really nice to see these profiles coming from a themey base, but also kind of spicing up the Ruffian units as well. And then when we're talking about competitive play, we come to our legendary legions. Now, of course, we've got two big legendary legions here, which is the Defenders of the Shire and the Chief's Ruffians. Now, as far as I'm concerned, this is pretty much the only way to play the Shire or to play Ruffians moving forward. This really gives both of these forces a little bit more of a competitive edge, which is just fantastic for them. The Defenders of the Shire, we had this page get leaked, but this page was not leaked. And this is a whole host of special rules that really add a whole lot of flavor as well as competitive edge to this force. We've got things like all Hobbit hero models being able to use Merry Standfast. We've also got some traps that the Hobbits can set, which can kind of entangle their opponents, as well as some interesting deployment options. Hobbit warbands that are led by heroes that aren't the big four can deploy in interesting ways, coming on as reinforcements or even deploying in terrain as they kind of swarm from the surrounding regions of the Shire to ensnare their foes once they hear the rallying cry of battle being taken up. Lots of interesting stuff there. Then we've got the Chief's Ruffians. Now, once again, lots of themey inspired rules here, just like all our legendary legions. Things like Sharky's Standfast affecting the entire battlefield. He's such a supreme commander, and getting lots of little interesting bonuses here. We've got our Ruffian models getting +1 to use when using a whip, which of course, you know, the Ruffians were known for being extremely cruel to the Hobbits and wielding their whips absolutely viciously. So there's lots of interesting elements. Once again, theme-driven competitive edge to the Ruffian forces, which is a fantastic, fantastic step in the right direction. We've got some detailed information on how the traps work, which are a pretty huge part of Hobbit forces moving forwards, I imagine. So it'll be interesting to see how they play out in the competitive scene. And then we've got a little terrain kind of information piece. Obviously, these pair with our Hobbit Hole kits, which we're going to have a look at in just a second. And they're the gorgeous new resin kit that's come out from Forge World, and they've put together a pretty interesting and comprehensive guide, actually. They've got, you know, how to kind of shape your hill, as well as talking about the techniques of using things like foam flock with static grass. So, coming from someone who likes terrain and has a bit of a terrain background, Lachie approves. Stamp of approval, Games Workshop. Good terrain guide. They've got some nice advanced techniques in there, which will give you a really nice looking Hobbit hole. So really exciting to see that stuff coming back in to our supplements, because I don't think we've seen any terrain pieces since maybe the Big Blue Book, unless I'm mistaken. So pretty exciting stuff. Now we have a little appendix, which is an interesting little addendum to the end of the Hobbit book. And in here we're going to find a couple of interesting scenarios that were missing before, and a new profile. We have Golfimble, the Orc Chieftain, making his return. Some of you guys might remember him from older editions. He's a big, fat, chubby orc who led a valiant raid against the Hobbit forces, leading a big pack of Warg Riders into attack. And of course we have the new scenario, the Battle of Greenfields, where Golfimble leads that raid and is unhorsed and has his head knocked off by Bullroarer Took, which is Bilbo's great uncle Bullroarer Took. This scenario's got some fantastic special rules, and it's really themey on a 4x2 board, and we've got our two kind of big heroes facing off in a lovely contest of the ages. Really themey narrative stuff. Continuing that vein, and I called it, we have the Wolves of Winter, some white wargs teaming up against Gandalf the Grey, leading some hobbits to fight them off in our kind of frozen snowboard. So if anyone wants me to make a snow Shire board, you'll have to do a bit of convincing for one scenario, but I think that would be pretty awesome. It's on a 4x4 board as well, which is going to be pretty interesting as well to see that nice big dynamic with 8 wild wargs and a wild warg chieftain, which we know are absolutely savage. So a great little scenario there. And then the final one is the road to Rivendell. Now this is a scenario that's absolutely come out of nowhere, and essentially it's Bilbo Baggins kind of going wandering after leaving the Shire to head towards Rivendell, and he is being protected by Aragorn and some rangers of the north and a whole lot of wood elves against a big kind of orc force that's trying to ambush him, which is a pretty interesting little idea for a scenario and really out of left field. So well done guys, great scenario. And they even sent me the little Bilbo Baggins model, which is a gorgeous re-release of him holding his diary and his ring, which is pretty awesome. I'm absolutely stoked with that, and that will be very exciting to play. And that brings our scenario book to an end, which is a whole lot of content. I think you guys will agree. They've absolutely jam-packed some amazing stuff in there, and even though it's so full, it's quite thin and it's quite cheap. I think it's 54 Australian dollars, which is really awesome value in my opinion, and certainly a supplement worth getting into, especially if you love hobbits and ruffians. And even if you hate hobbits, it's going to be so much fun stomping them with ruffians, so definitely worth checking out if I were you guys. And now we're into some models. Now I've got a couple of re-releases to have a look at, as well as some new products as well. First up, we've got our gorgeous little Bilbo Baggins Sculpt and Bull Roarer Took. Both of these are the original metal sculpts, and they've got some gorgeous new Middle-earth packaging as well, which is super exciting. And I actually already have Goldfimble, which I didn't have, so these two are the perfect addition to now allow me to play through that little mini campaign in the back end, which is going to be pretty exciting as well. And they're absolutely stunning sculpts. I'll put some close-ups in here for you guys to have a look at, but the Bull Roarer model is just a gorgeous sculpt, and it's him on foot and mounted, and the Bilbo sculpt is absolutely stunning. It's one of my favorites. Really beautiful models, and fantastic to see these guys come back in the range. Now we've got the big one, which is of course our new Hobbit holes, and these I'm so excited to get cracking on. A gorgeous little Hobbiton board for these. They're really gorgeous sculpts. We've got a double fascia here of 2 different Hobbit holes, so you can flip it around and get 2 different Hobbit holes out of each kit. And then you've got 2 little chimney pieces and some lovely windows as well. And then you combine them with, still got a bit of mold release on them. You can combine them with a gorgeous, little foamy hill and phlox and static grasses, and get some pretty absolutely stellar looking Hobbit holes. We'll definitely have to do something with those in the future. So super exciting stuff. Now we've also got a whole lot of those new profiles which have new models as well. Baldo Tallpenny and Will Whitfoot, and those models, some of them are coming out tomorrow, and I think some of them might have a bit of a staggered release. So as those come in, I'll be doing a video on those as well, and we're also going to dive into a whole lot of Scouring of the Shire content as well. We're obviously going to play through that campaign because I love the Scouring of the Shire. It's like one of my favorite narrative arcs of all of Lord of the Rings. So thank you so much for watching this little Scouring of the Shire review and unboxing video. I've very much enjoyed pulling all of these bits apart and having a look at all the new content we've got in this supplement. I hope you guys have enjoyed watching it too. Make sure you check out all of the other Lord of the Rings and Middle-earth content we have here on the channel, and stay tuned. We're going to have a whole lot of Scouring of the Shire content coming out very soon, so keep your eyes peeled for that. Thank you so much for watching here at Zorpazorp Gaming. We'll see you next time.